beard dyed? Check. I know. I'm like fucking status quo. I make more comebacks than them. I know I said I wasn't going to do any more Friday Waffles, and I absolutely mean it. Yeah, I say I'm not going to do any more Friday Waffles, and I did one last week and I did the one this week. The reason for this one is because I've got some content. I've got questions to look at, which is what I've been saying to you guys all along. No questions, no waffle, so it's up to you lot. Anyway, how the hell are you? My, haven't you grown? God, I think I use that joke every time. Anyway, I'm good. I'm recording this on Thursday. Most waffles are recorded on Thursday because I'm usually away on Friday. So yeah, I hope you're all doing okay. I'm absolutely fantastic, or cosmic. There was a guy I used to work with, I can't remember who it was, and he used to say, how are you? He used to say cosmic, which I thought was quite a cool thing to say. Yeah, what have I been doing this week? From a retro gaming perspective, one word, Mister. Yeah, I'm not going to go on about the Mister any longer. I think I've probably bored you all quite enough, but yeah, especially last week when I did the emulation special with Del Boy. So what have I been doing apart from playing the Mister? A couple of mates came up tonight. I was back at Cook's Soul. Anything else? Have I been anywhere exciting? I'm trying to think. In fact, yeah, I've got. Because I made this on a Thursday, I've got last weekend to talk about. I had quite an interesting weekend. Friday, can't remember what I did on Friday. Must have been exciting. Saturday, yeah, I was at a gig. I went to a gig on Saturday. Pardon me very much. I went to a gig on Saturday. Undertones and the Rosillos. Now, chances are you've heard of the Undertones. If you haven't, where have you been? Teenage Kicks. John Peel said that Teenage Kicks was the best pop song ever. So there you go. Yeah, the Undertones, they came from, I think they all came from Derry, and is that Northern Ireland? I think it is. They formed, well, kind of early 70s, mid 70s, and yeah, I got into them when I was still at school. I don't know what it is, but people have this. They have this need to categorise music. Any group, they always go, oh, they're ska, they're mod, they're rockers, whatever. They always have this need to do that. And I think the Undertones were kind of classed as punks. But the difference between Undertones and any other kind of punk group was they didn't dress like punks. And that was kind of partly why I liked them. They used to literally dress like I am just now. By the way, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that smelly bastard has had that top on for about the last 4 videos, and you know what, you'd be right. And the reason being is, like most people, I've got the heating turned off. And so when I come in at night, the first thing I do is just put a hoodie on to keep warm. It has been washed. I washed it on Tuesday, I think it was. But like everybody else, I've got my favourite go-to clothes. You've probably gathered, if you've watched my YouTube channel for any length of time, you've probably gathered I'm not the type of person that's into designer clothes, anything like that at all. I'm just strictly a t-shirt and jeans type of person. Anyway, Undertones, yeah, they would dress, they would go onto stage with like cardigans and jumpers on, you know, there was no airs and graces about them. Feargal Sharkey, he's probably the best known ex-member. He left Undertones in 1982, 1983, something like that. He then went on to, he obviously had a solo career. To call it a career is maybe pushing it. You had 2 songs, Good Heart and Never Listen to Your Father. I think that was it. Always Listen to Your Father. Never Listen to Your Father. I'm sure it was called that. So yeah, he left Undertones in '83, and then I think they kept playing. I don't know how long they kept playing together. Then they disbanded. They disbanded. Then they reformed in 1999, and they apparently approached Sharkey to ask if he would come back and join the band, but he wasn't interested. Now Feargo Sharkey, he ended up becoming some kind of bigwig in the musical industry. I'm not quite sure what role he had, but he became quite a big shot, so he wasn't interested. And this other guy, let me just try and quickly find out. Paul McAloon, I think his name is. Just give me 2 ticks. Hello. Yeah, okay. Oh, bugger off. Yeah, Paul McAloon. He joined Undertones in 1999, and he became the lead singer. Now, I'd never like any time you go to see a group, when it's not the original singer, you always think it's not going to be as good. And you don't get me wrong, 9 times out of 10, it can be true, because classic example. You take Freddie Mercury out of Queen. Yeah, I know Adam Lambert he's a great singer in his own right, but the vocalist, and you can disagree with me if you want, but I'm right. The vocalist gives the group the distinct tune to differentiate between them and another group. The vocalist is the person that gives them the sound. You take Bruce Dickinson out of Maiden, take Fish out of Marillion, and they lose the sound of that band. Don't get me wrong, another singer can come along and be a great singer, but then they've got a different sound to them. And obviously, Feargo Sharkey, they all came from Northern Ireland, very distinct accent. So when I went to this gig, I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, Undertones, I've loved them since I was an early kid. Since I was a teenager. It's probably the group that I know every word to every song. I'm crap when it comes to lyrics, but the Undertones is different. I do really, every single song. Even if you're not an Undertones fan, I guarantee you could probably, Here Comes the Summer, Teenage Kicks, Julie Ocean, bloody hell, tons of them, and I can't think of any. I just made myself look a complete twat. But the Undertones, fantastic group. So I wasn't really too sure how it was going to be, but I went along into Glasgow on my own because nobody wanted to go to a gig with me. Go figure. My girlfriend was going to go, but when she heard it was going to be standing room only, she didn't want to go because she's got quite a sore back. So she kind of bailed out, which was fine. I don't mind going to concerts myself. Absolutely don't have a problem with that. So got to the O2 Academy. The other group, so I forgot to mention, the other group, the Rosillos, they're the lead singer, Eugene Reynolds, he's English. And one of the other singers is a lady called Faye Fife, and she comes from Fife, funnily enough, in Scotland. They were a group, I wasn't really into them myself, but my mate Gavin, he was a massive Rosillos fan. Kind of rock, but they dress like 1950s rockers with the shades and the big quiffs. Quite a cool looking band. Kind of similar to the B-52s, the way they dress. So anyway, the Rosillos, I hadn't heard them for 40 years. So anyway, I went along this gig, And the Rosillos, they were the first group, they were like the warm-up act, and I have to say they were fantastic. Now, because I got there, I mean, when I got there, the doors opened at 6:30, and I just went right to the very front. Well, I tell a lie, I was one person from the front. There was like a railing, and then there was people already standing in the front, so I stood just back, one back, so I was like one row for the front. Anyway, the gig started, and absolutely fantastic. But there was this dickhead who was trying to basically barge his way in. He tried to get to the front, he tried to kind of push people out the road, and I think the guy basically told him where to go. He told him to bugger off, and this arsehole, he was obviously pissed or on drugs. Wasn't a young guy, probably about the same age as me, he wasn't some youngster. He started mouthing off and shouting abuse at the security, and it was so obvious. I mean, he was shouting at the top of his voice, calling them CUNTSAs and what have you. And what annoyed me was the security looked at him and did nothing about it. They just let him get away with it. And I thought to myself at this point, it's only going to get worse, and sadly it did. So anyway, yeah, he was shouting abuse, and then he started to you could hear him singing along. Now, directly in front of me were two young ladies. I later found out they were about 17 years old, so younger than my daughter, you know what I mean? So they were in front of me, and then this arsehole who was behind me, at one point, he didn't push me out the road, but he tried to get in a wee bit closer. And he took his camera out and he started filming the Rosillos, and then he put his right arm over one of the girls' shoulders, so he had his arm, I wouldn't say it was resting on the girl's shoulder, but he had it over her shoulder, which obviously made her feel extremely uncomfortable. And then he put his left hand onto her back just for a few seconds. Now, I took that to be that he was just getting his balance. I didn't see anything that was really untoward. But when he did that, when he touched her shoulder or her back, she turned round and he kind of backed off. Then the security told him to back off. Then a few minutes later, he did the same again. He had his hand over her, and then the security came round and took him away, which I was glad about. Everybody that was in the vicinity of him was glad, because he was just a complete arsehole. Then, excuse me, about, I don't know, half an hour later, one of the security guards came up to me and said, did you see what was going on? And I went, well, yeah, I saw so much. And they went, would you mind giving a statement to the police? And of course there was no way I was going to say no. So they led me backstage, and the police asked me what I'd seen. I told them what I'd seen. I wasn't going to, although the guy was a complete arsehole, I didn't see any, well, what they said was that there was an accusation made that the guy had sort of, sexually assaulted her. I didn't see it as that. I told exactly what I'd seen, and the police took my name, details, etc. So I don't know if I'm going to hear anything. You never know. If it went to court, I might get asked to be a witness. Personally, I think he'll probably spend the night. He'll probably spend the night in the cells, and that was it. I don't know. The guy was an arsehole, I would imagine he'd probably wake up the following day with a hangover thinking, what the fuck did I just do here? But anyway, no, but the gig itself was fantastic. The Rosillos knocked out the park, and the Undertones, they were fantastic. So anyway, Paul Bacaloon, getting back to Undertones, he became the lead singer. He is also born in Derry, so he comes from the same place as the other Undertones. all the undertones, apart from Feargal Sharkey, were actually schoolmates, so they all knew each other. Whereas Feargal Sharkey was asked to you know, he probably auditioned for the band. So it's every member of the Undertones is original, apart from Paul McAloon, but he comes from the same area as the rest of them. He was brilliant. Best way to describe Paul, I would say he was a wee bit camp, which was fantastic. And he looked a bit like a cross between Eddie Izzard and Negan out of The Walking Dead. If you can imagine an amalgamation of these two guys, that's kind of what I felt Paul McAloon looked like. And as I say, he's a bit camp, but he was fantastic, you know, really good. Held the stage well, you know, you couldn't take your eyes off him. So anyway, on the Saturday, not Saturday, on the Sunday, I was googling Paul McAloon, and apparently he's like a director, he's an actor, he's done voiceovers. He also has a Paul McAloon show in Ireland. So he's a known person. Anyway, I ended up on his Twitter account. So I thought I'll tweet him. So I just sent a quick tweet just saying, by the way, I was at the Glasgow gig last night and you absolutely knocked it out of the park. And he said, thanks Alan. So yeah, he replied to my tweet, which is awesome. And that's why I love, I'm one of these people that go on about, I hate technology, smartphones and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not going to go down that road today. I've done that a million times. But yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that we had the internet and all these kind of things, social media, that would just not be possible. The fact that I can send him a message and he replies to it, you know, brilliant. Oh, excuse me, pardon me. I should have brought some water through. Yeah, brilliant gig. If you ever get a chance to see them, go and see them. Right, last week I was, well, we're talking about emulation and whatever, and at the end of it I was talking about how I'm going to give the Friday Waffle, not knock on the head, but I'm not going to do them as often. And I don't want to go over old ground, but as I've said, guys, I've been doing Friday Waffles for 10 years. I think I've ran out of things to say, probably quite a long time ago. And if I was to continue, I need to have subject matter. I need to have a script of some sort, stuff to talk about. And as I've said, you know, if you guys want the waffle to continue, then you need to give me questions. So following on from that, I noticed there are quite a few questions, hence the reason I'm back tonight. Before I answer the questions, yeah, Mister, obviously bought my Mister, which is great. I am still in the process of selling stuff. I've mentioned before, I sold my 3DO, which effectively paid for the Mister, which is great because I mean I never ever used the 3DO. And the Amiga 1200 is gone. Yeah, one of my mates, Andy, bought it. Andy does watch my YouTube channel. Hopefully you've got it. By the time you're watching this video, Andy, hopefully you do watch the Friday Waffle. Hopefully the Amiga has arrived safely. If it hasn't, if it's arrived broken, then I'll be pissed off because hopefully you'll have seen the amount of bubble wrap that I used. I mean, I quite literally bubble wrapped it to within an inch of its life. But yeah, you know what, it was a big step to get rid of the Amiga 1200. The Amiga was one of my favourite computers. I mean, I always maintained, prior to getting the Mister, I always thought to myself, I'm going to keep the Amiga. I'm going to keep the Commodore 64, and I'm going to keep the Amiga. No matter what happens, I'm going to keep the Amiga. But the fact that the Mister does such a bloody good job of and I'm going to say the word emulation, it emulates the Amiga really, really well. I just thought, you know what, I don't need the Amiga now. I've got a far, far better system, more reliable. Capacitors will break in the Amiga, and you know, that's always been the fear. That's always been the fear I've got with original hardware. You switch it on and it doesn't work, and then instead of having something that's worth 200 quid or 300 quid, it's worth £50 in parts, and you know, so that was always a worry. So anyway, Andy asked me how much I was wanting for it, gave him a price, and I think I'd like to think that Andy felt it was a fair price. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but hardware now isn't cheap. You know, it's really not. So I think Andy, hopefully Andy was happy with the price that he got it from, and I was happy with what he gave me. The great thing was the money that I got from Andy, I got every penny. Whereas if you go through eBay, as I mentioned when I sold the 3DO, I lost, I think it was £72 in fees. Which is a bit of a sore one. So yeah, I was surprised that I got rid of it, and I sent Andy a video of it, just showing me using it, the keyboard, and making sure all the buttons work and all that kind of stuff. And I said to Andy, I says, listen mate, I says, there's absolutely no pressure. If you decided you didn't want it, I'm just going to keep it. And I think I probably would have done that. But he came back to me and says, listen, I'll take it. And he gave me the money, and it's away, and hopefully Andy's got it now. So, you know what, I don't mind. I thought I was going to be upset that I don't have it anymore, but in a small part of me is actually relieved, because, you know, I got decent money for it, whereas if I still had it, it'd be sitting in a cupboard unused, and that's the reality. Even though, you know, if I hadn't sold it, it would sit in a cupboard, because I would use the mister for not for emulation. I've used the mister to scratch my Amiga itch. So it sat in a cupboard unused. What's the point of that? So anyway, Andy, I hope you've got it, mate. Hope you're enjoying it. So right, listen, before this battery runs out, and hopefully it's not doing that horrible flashing thing that it did the other day there, or last week. That was actually nothing to do with the camera. It was to do with the rendering software. No idea why it did that. Don't know. So I'm going to batter straight in. Now, I have an apology to make to my mate Dave Connolly. Dave, you did leave me a question for the waffle, and I can't find it. I have absolutely no idea where said question is. If you can find it, can you please put it down below this video? That would be spiffing. Right, anyway, I'm looking at after asking for questions and what have you, you've given me loads of them, which is great. Roscoe Haynes is saying your camera seems to be playing up, continually going light and dark. Hope it can be fixed. Yeah, as I mentioned, Roscoe, it's not the camera, it's my rendering software. Don't know why don't know why it did that. No idea at all. Right, Colin Jones. Top tip to anyone watching this one is better audio only. Yeah, he's talking about it because it was flashing. Right, anyway, on the Mister, I did say it's hard to explain and has to be experienced. I'm so glad you've found it worthwhile. I'm not and never will take anything away from emulation, but the Mister's a different league. Right, anyway, let's get to the chase. Question for next waffle. Have you decided on a capture device yet? Are you looking forward to making videos and streaming with the Mister? I know we are. Oh, you're excited about it. I've not thought about it, Colin. Do me a favour, can you put a link, in fact I think you might have already done that, I think you've put a link to, what do you call it, you've put a link to Discord, and I think you can get them for about 30 quid. So I think I will get it. Am I right in thinking that I could, because see I was trying to think about how this works. can I use OBS and then have the Mister set up as an input? I'm assuming I can. And then what I could do is just use my laptop or something. So I will look into that, Colin. Yeah, I'll go and jump into Discord and have a wee look. Anyway, yeah, good stuff, Colin. Thanks for that, mate. Carol Todd, hi Al. I've not asked a question for a while. Busy with work, and I never knew if the next few would be live waffles. Anyway, quick set of questions from the top of my head. Brilliant. If you were to design a Cooksoul game, what would it look like? Double Dragon type scroller or international karate style game? Would you have any type of bonus levels, and who would you want to write, and who would write the music? I'm going to answer these in reverse. I would want Rob Hubbard. No, I wouldn't want Rob Hubbard. I would want Greg Barnett. No, Neil Brennan. Neil Brennan, he wrote for Melbourne House, and he did the music for Way of the Exploding Fist. So the music would be by Neil Brennan. It would be suitably oriental. The game would have been written by Archer McLean. Obviously that's not possible now, but yeah, I picked Archer McLean to write it. What kind of... See, here's the thing about Cooksoul. There are so many different... There's techniques, there's kicks, there's punches, there's nunchucks, there's swords... You name it, there's everything. Wrestling, you know, pinning to the ground, there's so many things. I think it would have to be an international karate. There would be different levels. You'd have an international karate. I think what you'd have, it would be a kind of Double Dragon style-y game. Then when you get to the boss, obviously there's going to be an end of level boss. It's going to cut to an international karate, Way of Exploding Fist type thing. Yeah, and each level you would have different types of things. You would have like kicking and punching and what have you. So yeah, you never know. Thanks, Carol. Good to have you back again, buddy. And please keep the comments coming. Spiffing. Right, Paul Patrick. Hi Al, on Mister using the PSX core with some of the excellent arcade conversions compilations is an excellent way for playing some classic games which don't have Mister cores yet. Rolling Thunder is on the PlayStation 1 Namco Museum Encore collection and is pretty much arcade perfect. You know what, Paul? 3 or 4 days before you commented, I remembered that Rolling Thunder was available on the PlayStation. I did a quick Google and discovered it's on National? I was going to say National Lampoons. It's on Namco Museum Encore, just as you said there. And I downloaded the image and I've been playing it on that. So good minds think alike. The PlayStation 1 has a number of excellent arcade compilations which are worth checking out. That's not a bad shout actually. I mean, there's probably going to be... I mean, the Konami one, Year Kung Fu, Jailbreak, Green Beret, they're all supported by the Mister. I'm trying to think of any other collection of games which isn't supported yet. I'll need to have a wee look. But listen, Paul, thanks for that, buddy. Right, Brian C. Which 5 titles are you looking forward to most on the Mister? 5 titles. Most of them. Are you talking about... Yeah, I think you're talking about arcade ones, Brian. It's going to be Rolling Thunder. Berserk supported. I think Outrun. I would like to see Outrun getting played properly. I mean, most of my favourites. Juno 6. That's Juno First even. Where did 6th come from? What bloody hell. Juno First. Yeah, that's another one. I mean, R-Type's out. Terracrest is out. Scramble, Phoenix. trying to think. No, I can't even think of 5. No, it's going to be Rolling Thunder, Juno first, Outrun, probably Space Harrier. Yeah, I think I'd quite like to see Space Harrier played properly. Yeah, I'm going to go for 4. So anyway, cheers Brian. Right, I better get an intake of breath here. Milfy Swinbuckle. Question for the next waffle. What arcade franchises, say with at least 3 or more games, do you like or dislike the most? Arcade franchises. I mean, I'm not... You're talking about things like Street Fighter. I'm not into beat 'em ups. I don't even know if there are any franchises that I really like. Not into beat 'em ups. That's kind of probably the most common franchise that I can think of, Street Fighter anyway. Tekken, Mortal Kombat, again, I'm not into any of these at all. I'm trying to think. I mean, I suppose would Galaxy and Galaga count? I don't know. There again, I'm not a big fan of Galaga. Arcade franchises, bloody hell. I mean, again, like you've got things like Tekken and all that, but again, I can't think. I mean, Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, both stunning arcade games, absolutely brilliant. Hard as nails, but fantastic. I'm trying to think. I mean, would you say Robotron and Smash TV? Would you say they're a franchise? Probably not. I mean, Outrun. I do like the original Outrun. Say, was it Turbo Outrun? Was that the second one? Can't remember. I'm trying to think of other franchises. No, it's really, it's generally beat 'em ups that have franchises. Right, listen, I'm going to move on to the next one. Secondly, if an old arcade game was remade with exactly the same gameplay, but with updated graphics, music and sound, which games would you like to see updated? Again, it's going to have to be a game that I like. I mean, see, I'm not a fan of modern updates on old games because the graphics are part of the charisma, not the charisma, the charm of old games. I mean, I've always said, I know it's not an arcade game, I've always said I'd love to see somebody do Way of the Exploding Fist, but replicate the graphics, but you can make them enhanced, make them look realistic, but it's got to have the sound and the music. But arcade games with updated graphics, again, yeah, Rolling Thunder, would I want to see that with better graphics? I suppose that would be nice, yeah. I mean, it would be interesting. I don't think it would ever trump the original. Yeah, I don't think there's any game that I would really want to see have better graphics, because that is part of the charm, is the basic graphics, Milfy. So, nah, not really. Nah, there's no game that I would want to play. There's no game that I would want to play the new version over the old version. So, anyway. Right. Oops, I'll bugger off. Right, and lastly, here's a fairly easy riddle that I thought up on Wednesday. Can you get the name of the film I'm thinking of with this clue? A sly man puts on his famous gloves and frightens people at the cinema. What film can this be? If you're still stuck, here's a quote from the film which you can Google to get it. A mental mind fuck can be nice. Now, unfortunately, Milfy, I'm assuming you're going to ask Del Boy this. He will come up with a much better answer, because Del he's like the Oxford Dictionary when it comes to films. I'm not really a film person. A sly man. I'm going to get... Is it Freddy Krueger, possibly? A sly man puts on his famous gloves. I mean, I'm just thinking his gloves. Who else wears famous gloves and scares people, it's going to have to be Freddy Krueger. So is it a, what do you call it, Friday? I can't even remember the name of the bloody film. What the hell was it called again? What was the name of the Freddy Krueger? A Nightmare on Elm Street. That's what it was. I'm going to guess it's that. Tell you what, let me... Nah, you know what? My phone is actually going to run out of battery, so I can't Google it. I'll watch Dell's blog on Saturday and on Sunday even, and see if he gives gives me the question or the answer. So thank you very much, Milfy. Always a pleasure getting your questions. And you know what? You without fail, you have given me stuff to talk about, and it's great. But I do need more than just Milfy. Pretty much what you're doing here. Brian C again, question number 2. It's a question that everyone wants to know the answer to before taking the plunge. Can the Mister accurately reproduce the Amstrad's amazing sound? I don't know. I've played some Amstrad games, and from what I can tell, it sounds pretty good. So if I can get this Mister card thing, whatever it's called, working, you can see for yourself. Excuse me. Wan's teeth. I justified my Mister a long time ago as I had a Neo Geo CD-Z that died, so I was thinking about consolising an NVS at the time. I priced it all up, and along with a flash cart, it was drastically more expensive than a Mister at the time. I've never looked back. I fixed and sold the CD-Z and a few computers that covered the cost easily. Yeah, if you're still sitting on the fence about whether you should get a Mister or not, because you're not sure whether it's really, you know, it does not have any lag, which is the kind of main selling point. I was watching a video of a guy that's got, or he had a number of arcade cabinets. He had the proper PCBs. He also had a Sharp X68000 amongst other computers, and when he got his Mister, he realised just how accurate it is in comparison to original hardware, including his arcade boards. So what he's done is he's put his Mister into an arcade cabinet, and he's now saying that he can basically play all the games that he owned for a fraction of the price, and games that he couldn't afford he can now play. And same with the Sharp X68000, he actually sold that because he says that the Mister does such a good job. So there you go, that's somebody who has got original hardware, proper arcade boards. He's super impressed with how accurate the Mister is. So there you go. When I actually watched that video before I got it, so I was that kind of sealed the deal for me as far as I was concerned. So anyway, thanks for your comments, Wan's Smith. Craig Flanagan, brilliant to see you love the Mister, mate. Yeah, it was my mate Craig that got me it. Delighted, and you know, massive thanks to Craig, it's great. Paul Patrick, the Mister is a top piece of kit. You can get snack adapters to use original console computer controllers, which makes it feel even closer to the feeling of using original hardware. I'll need to have a look. I'll need to find out where these snack controllers come from, because I wouldn't mind getting one that could for like SNES and Mega Drive. I need to have a look at that. Have you checked out SNES Fastrom S1A hacks on your Mister? There are a number of SNES ROM hacks improvements which enhance games which suffered from slowdown on the original release. Examples include Gradius 3 Super R-Type, which has been hacked to use the SA chip, which triples the SNES processor speed. Bloody hell, virtually eliminating the slowdown. These two games were criticised massively when they were originally released, with the reviews of the time pointing out the slowdown. The work done by Vitor Viela on these two titles makes them much more playable and responsive. UN Squadron is another game or another example where the fast ROM hack has helped reduce slowdown when the game becomes hectic. Whoops. There is a race driving essay hack on the SNES which improves the frame rate from 5 frames per second to 30. Bloody hell, that's incredible. Turning the game, which was barely playable, into something much more enjoyable. Do you have any favourite ROM hacks? It's not something that I was really aware of, Paul, but I'm going to go and check these out. So listen, thank you very much for bringing that to my attention. I mean, I have seen SNES hacks in the past, but I didn't realise that they were actually trying to improve the game, so that's great. And last comment is Delboy3K1 Retrozone. This is a question with no thought really, but comes to mind after what you said just now. Yeah, I was talking to Del on the phone last week, I think it was. You say MAME has thousands of games and you haven't really played a quarter of them. Why not? What is stopping you from choosing one and playing it? Nothing, Dale. Well, time. Lack of. You know what? I mean, here's the thing. Can you imagine going back in a time machine back to 1985 and somebody coming into your house delivering an arcade cabinet? They drop off an original Space Invaders and they say to you, right, you know what, tomorrow we're going to come back, we're going to pick up the Space Invaders and we're going to give you Galaxian. You would think you'd won the lottery. Your mind would have been blown, thinking, wow, I'm getting an original arcade game, a different original arcade game to play every single day. And that's the thing about the beauty about MAME. In theory, you could load up a brand new game that you've never played before and play it for a day. Then the next day, you load up another brand new arcade game. So yeah, you know what, Dale, you're absolutely right. There's nothing stopping me doing that. Not much thought, sorry, and I realise time is a problem just now, but I believe it's time to discover a hidden gem. You know the classics and some modern ones, but how about turning off those screenshots, playing one, and maybe you'll have a game to chat about. I love the Waffle and all your stuff, but maybe one stumbling wall will collapse with a date associated to one random game. My thoughts and hopes, mate. Keep smiling. Daily Welly. Yeah, brilliant. Listen, folks, I'm going to get going. Thank you very much for everyone that took time to ask my question for this waffle. As I've said before, if there's stuff for me to talk about, I will make them. I do enjoy doing the Friday Waffle, but when I get to a point I've got nothing to talk about, I'm not going to do it. You know, so again, there probably won't be any Sunday stream on Sunday. If I'm going to do it, I'll tell you. It might be an hour's notice, but as things stand, the Sunday streams are kind of no more. I'll do them when I can be bothered. I have got some ideas for other videos. Like I said, I want to kind of get back to making videos, trying to make entertaining videos rather than just you watching me playing games. So anyway, folks, listen, I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Yeah, and thanks for supporting me as always. Finally, guys, as always, thank you very, very much for watching. See you.